Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Absolute Falcon Cinema. In case y'all are new here, I'm your host, Caleb, and this is the place where I talk everything movies and the art of cinema. For this episode, I thought that I would review a movie for y'all because there is a movie that I've been wanting to talk about on this podcast for a while now. If you know me in person, I have probably talked about it in some shape or form, and I've been obsessed with it ever since I saw it like a month or two ago. And it is a movie called Hundreds of Beavers. It is an indie film that was filmed in rural Wisconsin back in the early 2020s. It's directed by Mike Cheslick, who is a local filmmaker. And what I mean by an indie movie is that it was made on a very cheap budget. It was made off a budget that I believe was less than $200,000. And if y'all know anything about Hollywood and how that works, that is really cheap for a movie. Fun fact. It may seem like a lot of money, but it's actually very, very cheap. Most movies are very expensive to make. They cost like millions and millions of dollars. The newest Mission Impossible movie, for example, cost $400 million to make, and it is to this day one of the most expensive movies ever made. So that range is usually range from like $100-200 million to make a movie, and that's not even including the marketing budget or anything. So when you're in indie production, you have less of a budget, but you have more creative control and less studio mandates that executives are like breathing down your necks, and you have less of that limitation, and you have more freedom to direct a more authentic movie. And indie cinema is kind of a blind spot for me in my filmmaking or film watching experience. So I've been meaning to get into indie movies for a long time, but Hundreds of Beavers, I think, is one of the first indie movies that I've seen that I've really latched onto because it is a movie that is just a lot of fun. You can show it to just about anyone and they'll have a good time. It is a black and white silent film which might seem unappealing to some people, but it follows the structure of a video game in a way. The story goes that there is this apple cider brewer called, I forgot his name, but he basically goes into the winter and he has all of his apple cider productions completely destroyed. So he has to learn to survive in the environment and trap animals and learn the art of trapping through the trap keeper and the merchant. And it's a story where it's like you're watching this character sort of learn the tools of the trade, and as he gets better and better at it, it becomes a more cathartic experience because you're seeing him go from rags to riches. It's a rags to riches sort of story, but told in a more comedic and cartoonish sort of way. And it's very, very exciting. It's really fun. And yeah, even in the visual style and the production, the animals that he traps, they have like little exclamation marks or question marks above their head when they see a trap, kind of like how in a video game when you go up to an enemy, they'll have like a question mark on their head or something. And it's really cool. It's a really cool visual style. It's black and white, but it's also just so vibrant and full of life, full of character. And a lot of that is attributed to the editing. It's attributed to the costume design. The movie has this really fun gimmick where all of the animals are just people in like costumes, like mascot costumes, and that's a whole lot of fun. And the beavers, especially, are they're just an iconic design. I feel like you can see the beaver design and know immediately it's from the Hundreds of Beavers movie. That could just be me being biased, but I think that it really adds a nice touch to the memorability of this movie as well. And I mean, I could gush on and on about how the physical performances are just so good from everybody, really, from the trapper main character to the master trapper that he meets in the story, to the merchant and the merchant's daughter, and the whole story sort of hinges on the physicality of these actors' performances, but they are able to perform very well, especially under the circumstances. I've seen a lot of behind the scenes clips where the actors say that it was like freezing cold. They were filming it in the winter, and it was at some point the lowest temperature was like it was like below 40 or something in Wisconsin. And they went out and still filmed it anyways. And I think that's very inspiring. Through hardships, they're able to succeed. And oh my gosh, the lead actor, Rylan Brixton Cole Tews. I think that's his whole name. But he is phenomenal in this movie. He really carries the movie on his back. And he is the trapper, the guy that learns to be a master trapper that eventually is able to trap all these animals and sell them to the merchant in exchange for more tools, more trapping tools. And you get to see his whole journey, and it's very, very entertaining. And he's a very expressive actor. You can tell he's worked in other silent films before. I think he might have even been in a theater because the acting is very theatrical, but I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. He he wears a lot of great costumes, and he just brings this energy to the movie that it wouldn't really be the same without him. And it's super fun to watch him on screen and to see him like fall in love with the merchant's daughter. And the reason that he is willing to trap all these animals and is in order to marry her. The merchant tells him that he needs to bring him hundreds of beavers in order to gain the wedding ring to marry her, to hold her hand in marriage. And it's really fun to see him do that, to see him kill all these beavers. And he kills them in very overly cartoonish ways. But eventually the beavers catch up to him because the beavers, they're like sort of humanoid in the way that they're a bunch of mascot costumes and a bunch of humans are wearing them. And eventually Beaver Sherlock Holmes and Beaver Watson catch up to him, and that's like one of the funniest bits in the whole movie. And it's just, the movie overall has a very quirky style, a very by the book story, but it's able to elevate itself through its very unique visual styles, its very unique aesthetic, and the overall shenanigans that this movie has the main characters doing. The movie is a very good example of reoccurring gags. And what I mean by that is when you tell a joke and then you keep going back to it multiple times. This movie does that super well, especially in a lot of the throwaway gags. It's like stuff that just like seems random at first, and then as you're watching it, you start to like pick up like why they did it. It pays off that random gag later in the story, and it's such a great way of telling a story. Setup and payoff is key, and I think I have went over that in previous episodes, but Hundreds of Beavers is another great example of how you can do that in comedic fashion, and it's incredible. The practical effects are great, as well as the visual effects, like how the movie looks. So obviously it was made on a really low budget, so they had to substitute a lot of these like big sets, like the beavers build like a giant dam, and it's mostly hand drawn and cartoonish, and it sort of emulates the aesthetic of Looney Tunes in that way, but it looks really good. Like I'm not quite sure how they pulled it off, but everything looks natural. Like it's not the thing where it's like your immersion is immediately broken when you see like, oh yeah, he's not actually standing there, you know? They make it cartoony enough where the visual effects are very amateur at times, but it fits the aesthetic. So your immersion is never broken throughout the entire movie, and it's super entertaining. Back to the visual gags, I think it Hundreds of Beavers might be one of the funniest movies I have ever seen in my life because of the sheer amount of just really clever jokes throughout the movie. There's something funny going on every like 10 to 30 seconds of the movie, and it's so impressive how they were able to fit in that many really clever and really funny gags in the movie. So that's another thing that makes Hundreds of Beavers highly enjoyable. And all of that, the visual effects, the directing, the acting, the music is really good. I thought the score in particular was very like underrated. I hadn't heard a lot of people talk about it online, but it's a really good score. I know it borrows from other artists or other classical musicians because obviously it's a low budget, but the way that they incorporated these themes is like really cool. Very catchy. There's a lot of like musical motifs in the movie that I had like in my head after watching the movie. Some really, really goofy ones, some really like beautiful ones, like when he's falling in love. The love theme is really good. And yeah, just me having an appreciation for movie soundtracks. The Hundreds of Beavers soundtrack was surprisingly great. And yeah, I think that's about all I have to gush about this movie. I think it's very, very well made, super funny, super entertaining. I What the hell? I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. It's so, so good. And I think that y'all should watch it. If you're into comedies or anything funny, or you're into video games as well, I think this is the movie for you. It's super entertaining, super good. I'm repeating myself here. I just love this movie so much, and I appreciate y'all sticking with me this long while I talk about it. Thank you for tuning in. This has been some absolute Falcon cinema. I'm working on a lot of big projects right now. Hundreds of Beavers is going to be on my top 100 movies list, and look for that list on Falcon News Network's newspaper page. We've kind of still got it started. We haven't really lifted it off the ground yet, but once it's on there, I will post those lists, and it's something I've been working on for a long time. It's a passion project of mine, and I'm sure if you've stuck around this long, you are interested in the art of cinema and interested in my personal favorites as well. So please go check out my top 100. It will be on that website before the school year ends, and I will be posting about it on my Instagram regularly as well. So, yeah, be sure to look out for that. And until next time, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Take care, y'all.